It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. We're back live on the Big Mountain.
That was a good one.
Woo!
Hey, welcome back to the mountain. I am JY. This is my good friend, Steve, and we've got dwellers in the house. Steven, Jerry, GBR, Justin. GBR, tell me what we can call you. GBR just sounds weird.
Go Big Red.
Go Big Red. Okay, go Big Red. Where am I at? Justin, one of my fellow Cowpoke fans. Sergeant is on. David Jurgensen John is on. Good to have John. He keeps me honest. Ralph, Bill, that college football guy. Hard Rockin' Trivia Show. Woohoo! We're live again. We got people all over the country, Steve. I see Cincinnati. I saw Vegas. I see New Mexico. I see Nebraska. I see Portland, Oregon. JEH. I miss JEH.
Yeah, where's he been?
He gonna give me a smack.
Yeah.
I missed him when I was doing our shout outs. But man, we are East Coast. We are West Coast. We're all over the country, which is what we want, because that's what makes it fun. So, we got a show tonight, because we want to talk CFP, and we want to talk Big 10 SEC. There was a special meeting today.
Yes.
I say not much came out of it. You say, oh, there was some nuggets that came out, and, you know, I'm not that guy, so I'm a little shady about it. That's okay. You can inform me about what I missed.
Okay.
What did I miss of this very important partnership between the SEC and the Big Ten?
Are we ready to get right into that? Do you have?
Well, after that, I want to tell them what we're going to do.
Okay.
I slipped something in here at the last minute, and I did it for JEH.
Okay.
Because we missed the transfers
That's right.
of the Pac-2.
Yes.
Last week. I've got the transfers for the Pac-2 after we do the SEC and Big Ten stuff.
I remember he called you out. He said,
and rightfully so.
I guess no Pac-2 transfers.
Yeah, I guess you guys are forgetting about
Yeah.
me. No, we're not. We're doing it tonight.
Beaver believer.
And then we're going to end with some comments made by Commissioner Nevarez, and I'm going to sprinkle some nuggets along the way. Some nuggets for my Mountain West fans. Because we got stuff happening on the Big Mountain, and I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag yet, but there's some awesome stuff happening on the mountain. So with that, now that I've taken enough of everyone's time, your turn, Big 10, SEC, what the hell's going on?
So we got to go back in the time machine a little bit.
Go back.
Two to 3 weeks ago, we did a show that was pretty big. I talked to one of my Big Ten sources about what was going to be talked about, what the Big Ten ADs were kind of prepping for this meeting that was going to happen this month. And so, we talked about that time. Changes to the SEC was going for 4 auto bids for 20. Unequivocally, they want 4 auto bids.
I want to be clear.
Yes.
You weren't speculating.
No, I was.
You were saying that it's
confirmation.
happening.
Yes.
Okay.
And, because there was speculation at that time. It was
Yes.
like, are they going to go for 3? Are they going to go for 4?
Yeah.
And lo and behold, it comes out Ross Dellinger, who, that dude, he's got to be the best national college football reporter right now. So he confirms it this week that, again, that's what they're pushing for. Lo and behold, 4 auto bids for the Big Ten, 4 auto bids for the SEC, which... Ross did a good job in his article of breaking down the numbers,
right?
And if you move to a 14-team CFP, which that's what the Big Ten and the SEC want to do, it really makes sense for them to have. They would get 4 pretty much every year, anyways, and really the averages end up.
We're hitting the buffering.
Okay.
Yeah, I see that. So we see we're buffering issues. Give us 1 second to see if it fixes.
Okay, looks like we maybe caught up now. All right, so
Bill's all over us. And David's reminding me to tell my daughter to get off the doggone phone. Mm-hmm. Well, I can send that text while Steve's talking. So
Okay.
Here we go.
So I'll talk. You get everybody off the.
I'm
Wi-Fi.
getting it figured out.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So it comes out, the Ross Dellinger's report moved to a 14-team playoff with 4 auto bids for the Big Ten, 4 auto bids for the SEC. And it looks like, it's not finalized yet, but the format they're looking for is a 4-4, 2-2, 1-1 format. Where after those 4, where the ACC and the Big 12 would get 2 auto bids. And, I saw on X that you were not a fan of that, JY. But one thing that's very important is it would still guarantee that 1 auto bid for the highest G5, G6 champion, which I think is really, really important. So that was a big part of kind of what came out. We also got the news today that, I said that I thought they really wouldn't push too much for 2025 because 2025 is already baked in a little bit. But it looks like they're going to go ahead and push to try and get 2025 changes where, basically change the seating, get rid of the current seating format, get rid of the auto buys for conference champions, and just do the seating along the CFP rankings. They're trying to get that done for 2025, but that's going to take unanimous consent from the other, the other conferences. Ross was able to confirm, and as we talked about on our show, that going forward, 2026 and beyond, basically the Big Ten and the SEC are going to control whatever the format is in consultation with the other conferences. So, that's really what the national media is focusing on, these changes to the CFP format. But there were some other things that I think are very important. So when we did that show a few weeks ago, we talked about a potential of changing, basically the Big Ten and the SEC wanting to match the number of games they play. It's really important for the Big Ten. And I said maybe the Big Ten would even be willing to go from 9 down to 8 games because it didn't seem like the SEC was willing to change. Well, the SEC ADs got together, and it sounds like coming out of this meeting that they are actually open to going to 9 games. And what both conferences are working for, they want to have an equal number of games so you can compare them equally, and also to set up, and it's in conjunction with those 4 auto bids because they're going to play more games that are against tougher opponents, so they want to make sure they're getting their, if they're going to have more losses, they want to have their bids into the CFP. But a big part of it is also to set up a potential scheduling agreement between the Big Ten and the SEC. That was in Ross's reporting as well, which it's going to work so much better if they're playing the same number of games. And that's something that, again, we talked about that 2 to 3 weeks ago on our show.
Yeah.
And now we basically have confirmation of that. It's not a done deal yet. It's just something that the Big Ten and the SEC is talking about this week. And so, I thought there was a lot of stuff coming out of there, a lot of important stuff, because what goes on next week? Next week is the actual CFP meeting where all the people who control the CFP are going to get together and decide the fate, see if there's any changes for 2025, and start laying the groundwork for what the college football playoff is going to look like in 2026 and beyond, when the Big Ten and the SEC can basically do what they want to do, kind of do their own thing there. So, again, the thing for us is there wasn't a lot of new news because we already had this 2 or 3 weeks ago. We already talked about this for the most part. But it's interesting now that more of the ADs and the commissioners are going on the record with this stuff and putting it out there, and with Ross Dellinger doing his national level reporting, confirming a lot of the stuff that we were already discussing.
Yes, I am ensuring they are shutting everything down upstairs.
Okay.
Here's the deal. I got my daughter home from dance class.
Uh-huh.
She's got to check all of her thingamajiggies.
Yeah.
I got my son with his girlfriend. They, you know what? I don't know. They are my family.
Yes, yeah.
But anyway, so hopefully we're correcting the issues, and hopefully we're going to be on more than we're off, or hopefully we're just on. And I'm not sure how much you heard Steve say, and so we apologize, but I will give some of my comments. I know we have a lot of new people on here now as well. I see, real quick shout out, Jason is on. We've got Bill, Surf City Bill, I got to say that correctly.
Yeah.
And just a few other peeps. So, we got Chris on here, Chris Carter, and a few other people. So welcome to the chat. Apologize for some of the technical difficulties.
So Bill, that college football guy, he says, one of his comments here, that the SEC has been open to 9 games as long as ESPN will pay for the 9th game. And yes, they have been using that as a bargaining chip, but from what I understand, ESPN has not, they haven't anteed up any more money. But at this point, I think it sounds to me, Bill, that college football guy, and maybe you've heard something different, that the SEC is actually willing to go to 9 now without an increase of revenue, just because they think it'll be better for the conference, create better matchups, and then also facilitate that crossover scheduling with the Big Ten. So we'll see what comes out of it, but that's the word on the street right now.
Yeah, and so I'm going to give some of my thoughts.
Okay.
So I want to first start with this CFP thing, and then I want to get to some of Ross's tweets from today and what came out of the brief press release, or not press release, but press conference that came out of today's partnership, whatever you want to call it, meeting. So first of all, the 4-4-2-2-1, is that right?
1-1.
I don't know.
Yeah, 4-4-2-2-1-1.
Yeah, 442211. And if you're an ACC or Big 12 fan, you're going to hate me. But I don't get the 2-2. I don't understand it at all. We're headed towards, quicker than ever, a P2 model, especially if the next round of realignment, which, and frankly, we talked about this, could happen way sooner than some people think. I'm not saying it is going to happen, but things are happening right now behind the scenes. It's a fact. And if somebody's going to be able to spend the money, ESPN, things might happen. And if you're going to move some of these schools out of the ACC, I'm just going to call a spade because we talked about that. I don't understand why these freaking conferences are getting 2 auto bids. It's crazy to me. I don't love the 4 either. I really don't. I think 3 is plenty. Give them the 3, increase it to 14, you're fine. I can deal with the 4 to the Power 2 conferences more than I can deal with the 2 to the, frankly, top of the G8. And that's my rub with it. And if the 442211 is going to last until 2030, and it may not. I mean, hell, we can't even get out of year 1 before they want to make all these damn changes again. So who knows what it's going to be by 2030, 2031. I don't like it. I think you need more than 1 at-large bid. I mean, let's say it. That's Notre Dame's spot.
Yeah.
That's whose it is.
Yep.
I just don't like it. I'm not a big fan, and I'm not an SEC guy. I'm not a Power 4 guy.
Right.
So of course that's what I'm gonna say. I just think the autos take away. I'm okay with some. I'm not okay with 13 of the frickin' 14. That's absolutely asinine to me. But money makes the world go round.
Yeah, and whoever has the most money has the power generally.
Yeah.
So I definitely can see some of your points there. I'll just say, again, Ross Dellinger in his article, he did a great job of breaking down, basically, if you just went by the CFP rankings, the top 14 rankings, how many teams would each conference get in every year anyways? And it basically comes down to this. But what I'll say is, so something that's very near and dear to my heart, that's very important, I know it's near and dear to your heart, is we've got to have G5, G6, G8, whatever you're going to call it. The G-level conference has got to have representation in this playoff, okay? By the numbers, in an average year, if you just went by rankings, they would only be in this tournament maybe once every 4 years, once every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
This at least still keeps that every year there's a path that a G5 champion, if they can make a run like Boise did, whatever, every year, no matter what, they've got that path. And I think that's super important to keep college football a big tent, which is very important, and not go to an NFL model where AFC, NFC, Big 10, SEC. So I get your points on ACC and Big 12. Now this year we had 2 ACC teams in, right? If I'm remembering correctly, and I think we were very close to having 2 Big 12 teams. So I don't know if this really when you look at the rankings,
Bama would have been next in.
Well, yes, but
according to the rankings,
with a 12 team, the 14 team, I saw someone. It was like Bama, Ole Miss, and I think the very next team that would have been out was Iowa State.
Okay,
so they were close. They would have been close to making it. So I don't know. I get your point because especially moving forward, is there a big difference between the Big 12 now and maybe a weekend ACC? And some of the other G conferences? No, we've said that for a while. We're headed to the road. 5 years from now, it's the P2 and everybody else. So I get your point on that, but I do like, again, the Power 2. They're gonna get what they want. They have all the power. They're gonna get what they want. If they want 4, they're gonna get 4.
I know. That's why my opinion really doesn't freaking matter.
Exactly. But for me, I think what's really important is keeping that path for the G5. G6, G7 to have their best champion compete in this. I think that's really important, and I'm happy to see that part at least.
Yeah. New peeps on. FIA is on here, just south of Eugene, Oregon. Welcome aboard. We got rumblings. We got FIA. We got Brady Moon, one of my good chatters on X. And I believe we're kind of back. I've kicked enough people off of our Wi-Fi. I think we're good to go. So if you can just give a couple quick thumbs up, it looks like we're back to pretty much normal. I apologize for that. My family apologizes for that. And we're going to go right to David Jurgensen here because he gives us a $10 super chat. Thank you, DJ, one of our awesome mountain dwellers. Glad you can be on a live show. So what's he say here, Steve? He says, I think come the end of the new CFP, the P2 with its money will create a separation that even fans will want them to split. I wonder if that is what the P2 is wanting, the fans demanding it. That's interesting. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, will that eventually happen? Probably. But honestly, I want to go back to the model that they're talking about now. If they go with this, it's still keeping it Big Ten. I mean, you're getting the ACC and the Big 12 are obviously diminished compared to the top two.
Yes.
They're still getting a big, share of
Yes.
this chunk, and we're still keeping a path open for the G5. So I think the current structure that they're talking about doing with the CFP, and we don't know how long this will go, 26 through 36 or whatever, but they're keeping the Big Tent structure.
Yeah.
Will it eventually get that way? Who knows? Everybody assumes that we're eventually going to be, when they hear about the Power 2 breakaway, they assume it's going to become an NFL, AFC versus NFC.
Right.
I still think there's a lot of paths where, yes, those two, they have more power, maybe they have their own rules, but they're still playing those games against, regional teams that are at the G level. We saw Northern Illinois. We just did an interview with their athletic director. That's going to be airing next week. And we saw this year where Northern Illinois was able to upset on their turf a Notre Dame team that eventually went to the college football playoff final, the championship game.
Right.
And so I think more college football fans than not will want to keep that kind of thing, that kind of possibility, that Big Ten college football as part of the game. So we'll see. Maybe I'm naive.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting idea, though, that they're playing maybe a little bit of the longer game to get more fan support. Because right now, I could be wrong. I don't think there's fan support of a breakaway. I mean, some people want it.
Probably SEC fans.
Yeah, I think the P2 I guess wants it, and they got plenty of fans. But do you build more of a not only, hey, we're just going to make this happen. We've got buy-in after 5 years or whatever it is. I've never been a big breakaway guy. It just doesn't make sense to me. I feel like the P2 is going to get what they want 90% of the time anyway. They're kind of forcing it on everybody. So why break away? Especially if they can get some of this governance stuff that they're,
get the rules they want.
Get the rules that they want. Then what's the purpose of breaking? I don't know. Maybe I'm naive in thinking that. I just don't see the overall benefit with a breakaway. But again, as the college landscape changes, even more than what it is now, maybe it becomes clearer to me why they would do that. I don't think the benefit's there right now.
I agree. And so I'm not as plugged in with the SEC like Bill, that college football guy. He's really plugged in with the SEC. For me, the Big Ten is my focus. And I'll tell you, whether you're talking about Penn State or some of the other big programs, they like playing those kind of regional teams. A big part of the economics of college, no matter how big the TV money gets, a big part is, Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State have 100,000 seat stadiums. They want to fill those stadiums, and they want to have extra home games. And a big part of that is playing the G League teams. Just like Notre Dame this year paid Northern Illinois to over $1 million, somewhere up there, the number hasn't been confirmed, to come to their house and beat them. The Big Ten teams, a lot of them, they want to continue to do that. I think they're going to want to continue to play them. And so to keep that, again, out of a 14 team, or if we go to 16 team, they're giving the G conferences one spot. I think that's a good compromise. We can keep it a Big Ten sport. Everybody's getting what they want in this scenario. I don't see a full breakaway happening anytime soon.
Well, we're up to 100 peeps. Fantastic. Thank you all for joining us. As somebody said, smash that like button.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. We'll see how many we can get here tonight. So I want to get to some more on Ross's tweets about the meeting today. I want to go there next. Before I go there, just a couple things. Number one, we're going to get to Pac-2 transfers. I added that in tonight. We're going to get into Nevarez's comments from the Monty Show at the end of this episode. But before we do that, I want to make a couple announcements. I said we were going to drop some nuggets, and here's the first couple nuggets. Steve already said we now have met with A.D. Frazier, the NIU athletic director. He actually spoke with us for an hour tonight, Steve.
Yep.
We got an hour with AD Frazier. I'm going to split that up into 2 or 3 pods that will drop early next week. First one will be on Monday. I know we've had a ton of Husky fans really anxious for us to try and get him on. Well, he has been on. He was super gracious to us. And I'll tell you what, he got me fired up a couple times.
Absolutely.
He got me fired up a couple times. So it's really good info. We'll get that out on Monday. So anybody that likes the Mountain West, that likes the G6, that's interested in this, we talk about Mountain West, we talk about NIU, we talk about the group of 6. Thinking outside of the box. He's got some really interesting ideas. You're going to love that series we do with him. Probably 2-part series with him. The other one I want to talk about is Gloria Nevarez.
Before you move to Gloria, because Gloria we trust, I want to say Sean Frazier, the AD of NIU, like you were just talking about, real football guy, okay? Played at Alabama, played his college football at Alabama. Has been all around the country, big schools, small schools, West schools, Big 10 schools, Northeastern schools. Been all around, a real football guy, a real college football sports guy, and he's the kind of voice we talk about. No leadership, in college football and college sports. That's the kind of guy they need to be listening to. Get him and like 4 or 5 of his buddies who have this experience in a room that they've been there, done that. And let them fix college football instead of us 2 guys in your basement, you know?
Yes, well, he was very, very, again, gracious. Have some information on Nevarez. Again, we're going to talk about the interview. Also, some information about the Big Mountain and Nevarez later on in this episode, so stick around for that. If I can do one more thing for our West Coast peeps, and then we're going to get to some of the Dellinger stuff. Dellinger. I gotta say
Ross
the G.
Dellinger.
Okay. Fia says, I'm gonna read 2 comments. I'm really getting vibes from Sac State. They are heading to the Pac-12. Everything from them is geared around 2026. 2 comments. Number 1, 100% it's geared around 2026. They will be FBS, in my opinion. We've talked to some peeps. Mm-hmm. It's my opinion they will be 2026, at least in football, obviously, playing FBS schedule. I don't know where. I'm not so sure it's the Pac-12, so I agree and disagree with that comment. Very confident in 2026. I actually, on X, Dr. Luke Wood just gave an interview with a local news station out there. He talked facilities. He talked FBS. He said, in 2 months, there will be an announcement. In 2 months. So just wait. Some good stuff is happening out there. The other comment Fia says is, I also think Texas State is coming to the Pac-12. I think the delay in announcing is because the Pac-12 wants to try and get the best of the AAC and announce this all at the same time. So again, I'm going to agree and I'm going to disagree with the comment. I'm running 50-50 with Fia right now.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Hard agree that Texas State is going to the Pac. I actually had conversation today to confirm what I have been saying. All indications are everything that I have said and continue to say, I know I'm a broken record at this point, is still factual and accurate. Texas State conversations are good. They're on the right path. Shall I say they're probably expecting an invitation at this point. So I'm not saying they've had one yet, but they're probably expecting an invitation is Texas State. I will say the part that I don't agree with is the AAC part. I know I'm not going to rehash that. We just dropped a PAC episode yesterday. So I'm not so sure I tie it to the AAC schools. I'm tying it to the media rights announcement. I'm thinking they probably do them both at the same time, where they do at least one member, I'm going to say one member, and a media rights, kind of in a 1-2 punch in the March timeframe. So I think we're about a month out on that. Again, I'm not saying it to be a broken record. I am saying it to let you guys know I have reconfirmed the Texas State information, and boop, it's a go.
Yeah, honestly, I would just say if they're waiting to get the top juiciest picks from the AAC, they're going to be waiting. People are going to be waiting a long time and are going to be disappointed most likely. So I agree with you in disagreeing with you that I don't think they're waiting on that because, I mean, and again, we talked about this in our episode. There's no real indication. You know, they made an offer. The offer wasn't good enough, and there's no indication they've even come back that there was been counter offers or they've continued to pursue that angle. So
Right.
I know fans are looking at that and saying, let's do it and let's make it happen. It makes sense to us as fans, but the people who are making the decisions and who are writing checks and making offers and contract offers, there's not much going on there, at least as far as we know.
And I will just say, maybe they did it so poorly the first time, they're doing it fantastically the second time. Yeah. That very well could be.
Could be.
I don't think it's the case, but it could be that case. All right, can we go to the next slide, Mr. Producer? I want to talk about Ross Dellinger, a couple tweets from today. And if you said this earlier when I was hurriedly getting people
CFP,
off my damn Wi-Fi, no, it's more about the meeting from today well, it is about the CFP. But anyway, it's about, hold on, I got to wait for it to pop up because I have to read it. Okay. I didn't write it down, unfortunately. Hang on. It's coming. We're delayed about 20 seconds. There it is. Oh, good, and I can't read it. I'm going to lean forward. Yeah, he's going to make it full screen because our producer's awesome.
Yes.
And you probably said this, and I like I said, I just missed it. But I want to talk about this real quick, and then I want to get to pack transfers. That's what's going to be on deck here.
While we wait, we'll again thank PWB Productions,
of course,
for running this live show. We're doing this live. He's not getting paid much. He needs a raise, okay? I think we should double his salary.
Well, when we made the comment about, I'm not sure if many people, want the breakaway.
Yeah.
And you said, well, maybe some SEC or Big Ten fans. Bill was clear to say, not that SEC fan. He's a Tennessee guy. And he's like, nope.
Well,
he doesn't want that.
So Bill is a traveling man. He lived in Las Vegas. He travels around the country. There are a lot of, and you know this, Bill, okay? There are a lot of SEC fans that they don't go more than 50 miles from their hometown, the town their parents were born in. They are, they're a little isolated in their communities in Georgia and Alabama and Mississippi and the Panhandle in Florida. And there's not much to the world outside of, if you're outside of that region of the country, they don't think you play real football, which we saw on Paul Feinbaum's show. They had Ari Weisserman on there debating with a Georgia fan, and he basically said, we play real football in the SEC. Yeah. We don't know what you guys are doing up in the Midwest. And Ari said, well, how about Ohio State kicking Tennessee's butt and Notre Dame kicking Georgia's butt this year in the playoff. So apparently we do play some decent football in the Midwest.
That's very true. And people were talking about the Monty show. I'm just going to say, when we get to those comments, I'm focused on Nevarez and Nevarez only. We're not advocating for another pod. I mean, I don't. It is what it is. Like, yep. You guys listen to whomever you want. You can have your opinions of all of them, and that's not what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be
Love
talking about
Muscle.
That was going to be my next thing. Love Muscle R. I don't remember that one being on here before, but welcome to the chat, Love Muscle. Am I drinking beer? You're damn right. It's a Pilsner. I've been on my Pilsners for about a month. Uraquell, I think, as it's called. It's from, checklist of, I don't know. It's from Europe. But anyway.
It's Love Muscle R, so I wonder if that stands for Russell. Russell the Love Muscle.
There you go. We're headed down a dangerous path. Steve is not drinking, by the way. So here's the one question comment Ross says. I'm going to start at, I think it's the one on the bottom. Yeah, it's the second one, and then we'll get to the top one. SEC Commissioner Sankey and Big Ten Commissioner Petiti say they are both in favor of changing the seeding in the 2025 playoff, as they have suggested in the past. They want the seeding based directly on rankings and no automatic buys for the conference champions. So that's one thing I want to hear your comment. Did you mention that?
Yes.
Okay, my
it's
bad.
All good. It's all good.
And then the second one here is the SEC ADs and coaches discuss potential moving to the 9 conference games, both Monday and Tuesday. Sankey says they have not made a decision yet, but it sounds like several people in the room are rethinking their position. And I know you did talk about that. Mm-hmm. We've talked about the 9 conference games for the SEC being a possibility here for a while. So that's not really the one I wanted to talk about. The one I really want to talk about was the one below. And I had some interaction today where people read this differently than I did. Like, to me, I read this as, well, the first person responded to me and said, that means they're going to 16 games. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. And they said, well, yeah, they have to go to 16 games because of X, Y, and Z. No. And I'm like, well, that's not how I'm reading that. The way I'm reading it is, quite frankly, I'm going to use Boise as the example.
Yes, yeah.
They don't want Boise being the number, the number 11, whatever they were, 12 seed or whatever they ranked.
They were ranked ninth.
They were ranked, okay. They don't want them getting the 3 seed. They literally want the rankings to be, the rankings of the CFP to be the rankings of the seeding. They want the seeding to match the rankings. Right. That's all this is saying.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the automatic buys changing and the buys didn't do well or anything like that. They want, if you're number 1 ranked, you're number 1 seed. If you're number 4 ranked, you're number 4 seed. Mm-hmm. If you're the best G5 team and you're number 16, you're the number 12 or potentially the number 14 seed if they're going to 14. That's all that this is saying. They want the rankings to match the seedings.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that's what you thought. That's the way I read it.
Yes.
I saw some people maybe thinking it was a little different.
I think you're exactly right. I know you're right. That's what they're talking about and what they're wanting to do. And what I would say is, and I don't think it's necessarily to target a specific team like Boise. It's more about what happened this year is the way it all broke. And we don't know if this would happen every year, if it was just a weird quirk of the system.
Yeah.
A team like Oregon, who had an undefeated season, number 1, basically wire to wire all season, ended up with one of the hardest paths. Versus a team like Penn State, my team, who lost to Oregon in the Big Ten championship, had what most people would say was an easier path than Oregon had. So I think that's what they're trying to prevent, is not to pick on any one particular school, or whatever, but more to just do it by regular rankings, so the natural order of things kind of come through.
Okay. Well, Steve, I'm ready to move to the pack. Is there anything else with the Big Ten SEC CFP? Anything you didn't hit?
No, I think we're ready. And if people want to put in questions, I think we're going to do a little Q&A.
Well, at the end, we'll go back. Yeah. I'll try to quickly go over these. Of course, as David Jurgensen knows, if you want the question read immediately and want it read in general,
Super Chat.
A couple little dollars in the Super Chat. But again, that's not why we do it. I don't know. Just hit that like button. Bam, bam, bam. We're getting pretty good at this.
I want to say real quick. Yeah. Okay, we've said it before. The Super Chat money and all this other stuff, we're not buying Lamborghinis or anything with this. No. And I think we've talked about this. We would like to use those funds. Well, first of all,
do it.
We use it to increase our technology here, so we're hopefully not buffering. We got better mics, because when we first started this, we had one little mic and people complained about the sound. But one of the big things we really wanted to do, and so for you Mountain West
this is hot. Here's a nugget.
It's a nugget.
This is a big nugget.
We're trying to finance to possibly go to Mountain West Media Days this summer in person and get to talk to people on the ground and bring you all that information. So that that's what the Super Chats go to. And if you buy a sticker, if you become a Mountain Dweller Sticker Club member, all those kind of things, that's what's going to help us hopefully get to Media Days this summer, Mountain West Media Days, where we can see all these people in person, talk to the ADs in person. We've interviewed a lot of them.
Absolutely.
Talk to Gloria in person.
That's right.
All that stuff. Maybe see if they do a thing again with the kicker kicking a field goal over the big fountain, whatever.
Whatever they're going to do. So there's the nuggets. He talked about maybe doing it last week. And that's true. Everything that we earn on the big mountain goes back into the big mountain. It doesn't go to us. That's not why we're doing this. All of the technology, everything that we've done, Zooms and everything, goes right back into the big mountain. And we would love to be able to go to the Mountain West Media Days in July and have those interviews, be face-to-face. We've already made some great contacts with the Mountain West and incoming Mountain West people. So that is the big plan for later this year, is that we can make it hopefully to the Mountain West Media Days. It would be fantastic. And maybe, I know we've got some Vegas or people close to Vegas, maybe I'm going to say it, Steve, a big mountain shindig.
I love it.
We're going to have a big mountain shindig in Vegas.
Let's freaking go.
Let's go. Anyway, all right, let's get back to what we were saying. I saw, that's really important, though.
Yes.
That'd be awesome if we can make it work. It is in the works. It's in the plans. We're hopeful. I see somebody, Sergeant how do you say that? Morhew. Hugh.
I'm not going to touch that
Morhew. I want Tarleton and North Dakota State to join the Mountain West. You don't have to take, I totally agree with you, Sergeant. Aye, sir. Let's get them in the Mountain West. And another nugget. We're full of nuggets tonight. Speaking of Tarleton State, we are going to have a conversation with head coach Witten with the Tarleton State Texans. We record that here shortly as well. We'll get that out next week. We had Coach Marion on with Sac State. We're going to have Coach Witten on with Tarleton State. Talk to him about the Texans. Talk to him about the potential move to FBS. It's going to be fantastic. I told Steve we need a TBM calendar because I'm just filling us up with interviews.
Great interviews.
Anyway, we got AD Frazier with NIU tomorrow. Today. We'll get that out on Monday, and then we'll get the Tarleton AD out later on as well.
David Jorgensen thinks he's just contributing to the JY Beer Fund.
Oh, no. Although I could write that off for the Big Mountain. I haven't yet.
We may use it if we have a Big Mountain shindig in Vegas. Maybe we're
buying everybody a beer.
There you go.
Absolutely. All right, up to 100. I love it. So we're going to go to the Pac-2 transfers. And I slid this one in right at the last minute, again, for our good buddy, JEH, a Beaver believer. And so we're going to start with OSU. OSU here, the scoring, according to 247, was 25.94. I'm going to compare them to where the Mountain West schools were. They'd be right at the top, right there with UNLV. Very similar score here. They have 11 commits, 1 4-star commit. We'll get to that in a minute. 6 3-star commits. They have several O-linemen coming in. They have a really good tight end from Miami coming in, Williams. And then, of course, as I think everybody knows, the quarterback from Duke, Malik Murphy, coming in to take over the starting role for the Beavers. Should be really, really interesting. They have 9 players going out. Including McCoy, the quarterback that started quite a bit of games for them over the season. They had some back and forth, but he transferred to, believe it or not, Texas State. So go figure how that kind of works out. But, really OSU had that just massive upheaval here a year ago when they lose their head coach. They lose being a member of the what was the old Pac-12. I mean, they took their lump heavy last year, so it really not nearly as big of a lump this year for Oregon State. They've stabilized coaching. Bringing in a Malik Murphy here,
huge,
a massive quarterback from Duke, and a good score. I know it's only 11 commits. It's not a huge number of commits. But man, they got a good rating. They get a 4-star kid here, and I think they took their lump last year, and they're just maintaining here this year. So well done, Beavs. Any comments?
Yeah, rebuilding. I think this is a solid step towards rebuilding.
Yeah.
After that, what happened, and we've already talked about Malik Murphy, but I'll just say again. I mean, a guy who I loved him at Texas. He darn near beat Quinn Ewers out for the starting job there. Goes to Duke and sets all kinds of passing records there, single season passing records. And I know Duke has not necessarily been known as a powerhouse in football. Right. However, they've had some good offenses over the year, put some quarterbacks into the NFL. And right away he just comes in and owns basically the single season record books at Duke. And now, coming to Oregon State, you're going to play for the Beavers. I think it's a great, he's experienced. It's a great addition. It's a great way to solidify that team. Get a guy like that, an experienced starter who was super productive and really very successful. That Manny Diaz team this year, Duke team, was really successful, and he was really productive. He's experienced now. He's gone through a couple programs to be at Texas, to be at Duke. And, come in and solidify that starting quarterback spot is huge for the Beavs.
100%. I see we have an NIU Biggs on here. I don't know if he heard us say earlier because he's new to the chat. But we're getting your AD Frazier on our pod. We had a meeting with him for an hour before this live show. We're going to get that out on Monday. So share it around the NIU boards. AD Frazier dropping on the Big Mountain next week. Probably a 2 or 3 part series because he gave us so much daggone good stuff and good time. And I saw some people talking about Maction and staying away from Wednesdays. Maction, of course, comes up.
We talk about that.
That discussion.
Yeah, big.
Facilities comes up in that discussion. The big one from his trustee meeting, the joining of brands with the Pac and the Mountain West is brought up in that discussion, Steve.
Huge.
I went for it.
Yep.
Everybody wants to know. We're going there. Hey, we've got a question out on the chat. Let's do a Discord. Click the yes or not click, but vote yes or no. If you would like the Big Mountain to do a Discord, we can have a little bit more, not one-on-one, but a little more chatty type conversation. We can let you know when we're going to come on. Might be a fun idea. Our PWB Productions is a dude to set that sucker up, so let's do it.
And I think if we go that route, kind of something where we've been talking about is making that something for just, our strong fans, the people, the mountain dwellers have been here a long time, and making it, kind of an exclusive chat group. So if that's something, if you're into Discord and you would love to have a group chat going with JY and his good friend Steve.
That's right.
Let us know if that's something you'd be interested in.
My great friend Steve. All right, let's get to Washington State. We talked about Oregon State. Washington State here, 23.17. Again, they're in the top third in terms of scoring that 247 does. They have 22 commits coming in, but they have 34 going out. So I purposefully talked about Oregon State taking their lumps in year one. Washington State, not nearly as bad. Coaching and different things had a play in that. But man, they're taking a bigger lump here in year two. I'm going to talk about the outs first because, losing quarterback Mateer here, he's going to Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. He drove that offense. Yeah. When the line sucked, he made something happen. When the running game wasn't going, he made something happen. I mean, he was an amazing quarterback for Wazoo last year. Mm-hmm. They might bring in a good kid that sets the world on fire. I don't know. But, man, that offense ran through one guy, and they had some good receivers. Don't get me wrong. But if you don't get the freaking ball out of your hands, it don't matter who the receiver is. And Mateer was the man. They're actually losing 5 4-star recruits on this team. Yeah. That is an ouch. And of the people coming in here, 22 come in, 15 of them are 3 stars, 16 of them from South Dakota State University. So by far the bulk of them coming in from South Dakota State. One of the big names there, the tight end Bo Baker coming in for Wazoo. But man, they took some serious hits on the kind of negative side. Then they were able to refuel here on the positive side. And you're going to see that, unfortunately, with what these schools have gone through there, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, so losing a guy like Mateer, that's massive loss for the Cougs. Yeah. And they lost a large volume of players, large and great both quantity and quality players. Yeah. But they are bringing in a bunch of new players. They're in a rebuild. Honestly, I look at the Cougs as just being kind of a year behind the Beavs. Right. The Beavs took their lumps this year. They're in full rebuild mode. Whereas the Cougs, Mateer kind of willed this team to win, and they had a very respectable season. I enjoyed watching the Cougs this year. I mean, Mateer, some of the magic that dude was able to work was just great. And I think they won the Apple Cup this year, if I remember correctly. Didn't they beat Washington? Yeah,
that sounds right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So just a great season for them. But now I think they're going into that full rebuild mode. So they're kind of starting the rebuild a year behind the Beavs.
Right.
Maybe they
a little bit
catch up right away. We'll see. So definitely rebuild mode for them.
Jack says they've upgraded at the head coaching position. Really excited for their head coach. But Rocker Farm says, the offseason was pretty rough for us Cougs. Unfortunately, but you'll have that. Stay with it, and things will turn out okay in Wazoo land.
So I got a special thing for Jerry and JEH. I think they'll like. Okay, yes, so go. Jerry's he's a Beaver believer like me. JEH, he's happy to hear that. So I got to tell them we have a trivia team. My wife and I, and we invite certain friends to come along certain times to play trivia. And our trivia team name is the Angry Beavers. Okay, so I thought you guys would like that. Those Beaver believers were pissed off. We got screwed over, and we're mad, and we're not taking names.
I don't think that's why you're called that.
Well,
Okay, let's get to it.
I'm still angry about the breakup of the Pac-12 and everything that happened.
I thought it had a whole different connotation. All right, let's get to the last item here, Steve. The Nevarez comments on the Monty Show that dropped earlier this week. I think it dropped on Monday, if I remember correctly. I actually didn't get to listen to it until today. Just too much other stuff going on with our pod. As I said to many people, I don't have time to listen to other pods. I mean, I'll try to do it if people are like, hey, did you hear this or did you hear that? Of course, if there's any interview with Teresa Gould or Gloria Nevarez, I will listen to it no matter where they're talking. So nobody had to tell me to go listen to Monty. I went to listen to Gloria Nevarez talk. But for the most part, we don't listen to other people's pods because I'm too daggone busy keeping us busy.
Setting up interviews.
Yeah. That's right. But with that, before I get into this, last nugget of the night, Steve, I've been working on something. I've been working on the Mountain West Commissioner, Gloria Nevarez, to join us on the Big Mountain, Steve.
Oh, I'm getting excited.
And we have her scheduled to join us on the Big Mountain. The fish has been hooked. Is that an okay analogy?
Yeah.
And I'm
so.
reeling it in. We're reeling it in. And I'm super duper excited. I have to control myself.
Yeah.
But hopefully here within the next week and a half, Steve and I are going to be sitting down virtually with Gloria Nevarez to have a discussion on the Mountain West. And I told Steve when I saw this interview drop, I was a little disappointed. Because I'm like, crud, she's doing some other interviews, which she does. I mean, I don't hold that against her.
Yeah.
But when I heard this, I'm like, man, half this interview was stuff that I wasn't interested in talking about. Like, I wasn't going down the lawsuits because she's not going to tell you much about the lawsuits.
Right.
I really wasn't going to relive the past with the PAC and then because we all know what kind of happened there. So I wasn't going to talk about that. He did, which is fine, and we're going to talk about that tonight. So it wasn't really a loss because we were going to focus on a lot of other things, kind of the path forward, the future of, the ascent of the Mountain West, not the past.
You know, we've had a lot of big interviews. Some of the biggest names in the Mountain West. You know, we started this year. We had interviews. We were keeping it classy with the Fresno State AD. We had the Boise AD on in a year that they end up having a Heisman Trophy contender and going to the college football playoff. We've interviewed the ADs for the newest teams coming in, UTEP's AD, Northern Illinois AD, some massive interviews that we've had this year and it's all been on JY. He has set these up. And honestly, I really think this, a year and a half ago, we were two guys starting our podcast with like 14 people subscribed in your basement. And now I would say, honestly, JY, I think you are one of the top voices in the entire country on covering the Mountain West. The interviews that you set up, and this has been a process, have been amazing. They've been great interviews, and now the icing, instead of calling it official, she's the cherry on top.
She is, yes.
The icing on the cake.
The most important piece to the puzzle.
Gloria, we trust.
That's right.
We're going to have her on the show. We're so excited about it, and I know the Mountain Dwellers are excited to hear what she has to say. I don't know if there's any other channel out there that covers the Mountain West like we do, and I don't think there's anybody out there that is invested in the Mountain West as you are.
Well, I don't know if there is or there isn't, but I am absolutely invested. I thank you for those kind words. And our dwellers agree with you. An interview with Gloria Nevarez, heck yeah. In Gloria we trust. I typed that quite a bit on X. I hope I started that. I don't know if I did, but I'm going to keep using it. I don't know if anybody else uses it. In Gloria we trust, absolutely. Gloria from Jason, Gloria rules. So yes, we will be having, if all goes as planned, Gloria Nevarez on the Big Mountain. And yes, I agree. The amount of ADs and decision makers that have allowed us to talk with them has been phenomenal. I give AD Classy and AD Dickey with Fresno and Boise.
Yep.
They were the first two to say yes.
Pop the seal.
And ever since then, it's been great. And I'll tell you, AD Frazier here was a fantastic discussion as well.
So I could talk to AD. I could listen to AD Frazier talk all day.
As I said, he got me excited.
Yeah.
I was ready to go. I was going to go to war. I didn't know where we were going, but I was ready to go. All right, let's talk about, I scribbled my notes, so I apologize if I fumble this around a little bit. Because I did scribble some of my notes. I'm not going to kind of go in order of the discussion that they had. I'm not going to hit on everything. I'm going to hit on the pieces that really stuck out to me. The first item here was about the scheduling agreement. And she said originally she worked directly with the schools, mainly athletic directors, to make that happen. You know, that was at the time where Georgie K was still in the PAC. And she even said he didn't have much role at that point. And so it really had nothing to do with the commissioner. She worked directly with the ADs on the scheduling agreement that we have all seen, we've talked about. We certainly know about the poaching penalties in that agreement. That was done by Chun and by Barnes, according to her. She said the renewal that came up earlier this year was mainly between her and Teresa Gould, because at that point, Teresa was in charge of the PAC, and so she was more doing the renewal with Gould. But I thought it was interesting that, she said she was actually working with the ADs when that first came about. The next piece, she talked about the TV deal. She said the ADs feel really good about where things are at right now. She talked about the long-term, strong relationship that the Mountain West has with CBS and Fox. And she said, as we have said, they're working together. Everything they've done. I mean, she didn't say this. This is me saying it. What they have done in terms of the markets they have gone after, there's not a doubt in my mind that this wasn't floated past those two entities, CBS and Fox. And nothing against the universities. It's not, well, UTEP only got added because Fox said yes. That's not what I'm saying. But you'd be darn sure that the market of El Paso and the market of Chicago and the market of Phoenix and the market of Sacramento played a role, was a piece to what they did there. So again, she really stated this, again, long-term strong relationship with those two entities. Didn't talk TNT. That didn't come up. And they're new. They've only been with them for a year. So they don't really have a long-term relationship with TNT. Let's see if I can read my chicken scratch.
Well, if I could just jump in real quick, in that CBS and Fox, it makes so much sense. They've been together a while. We've talked over and over again about, the package that both CBS and Fox have put together for the Mountain West has really highlighted and showcased them. Friday night primetime games, Saturday night primetime games. Fox even put, I think one of the Boise games over on the big network, not just on FS1. And CBS Sports, the production value, the pregame show, all of that stuff, they've been so invested in the Mountain West these last few years. It makes sense. Those are two trusted partners, and honestly, I mean, it would be cool to see a a Turner, a HBO Max deal or whatever. But if we just continue with Fox and CBS, I mean, it's been good coverage.
Absolutely.
There's no way to go wrong there.
And getting those games pulled up to Fox is a massive exposure piece. I mean, and CBS, I think, usually does that with the Air Force games versus the other service academies.
Right.
I mean, that swinging them up to the main network is really huge. So she said that while these aren't finalized, they are in the works. They're actually ahead of schedule, from what she said on the TV deal. And I'll just remind everybody, she had originally said a year ago that she was expecting to go to market in summer 25. They're 4 months ahead of that. So ahead of schedule means they've already had discussions with Fox and CBS and whomever else that they probably wouldn't have had for another 3 or 4 months. So, I think according to her timeline she gave everyone a year ago, they are ahead of schedule. But she also said they're in no rush. There's no rush to hit a certain deadline. They feel very comfortable where everything is at. She thinks both deals can get done between the PAC and the Mountain West, and thrive in the same marketplace. Monty was kind of... the little bit I've heard him, he really kind of bangs the drum of, hey, there's only one that really can survive out there, and when one gets a media deal, the other person's not going to get anything. That's kind of the way he comes at it, and she's like, nah, we can both do it. I mean, I'll get Fox and CBS, and they'll get CW and TNT, and guess what? We're good to go. Yeah. And, she didn't say that, but that's what I was kind of hearing, and it may not be TNT, but whatever the case may be. And she said everything that we've said, money and exposure. Money and exposure. We want as much money as we can with the best exposure that we can get. That's what it's all about. Streaming, she said, it's very valuable. She mentioned that right now they have the Mountain West app. You can watch any game on the Mountain West app. Now, it's not... fantastic. It's not on Netflix. I'm not getting paid for that. Right. But they have a streaming service, and I've watched games on the Mountain West. There ain't nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's not on a Fox network, but you can watch the game just daggone fine on it. So she brought that up, and she did say, as we know, linear gives you the most reach and marketing pump, obviously. I mean, that's just still where we are. You get way more marketing out of linear than you're going to get out of streaming. And that's not something we talk a whole lot about, was the marketing piece. So that's why I wanted to mark that down. You know, we focus really kind of on that reach, the exposure, and the money, the marketing side of things. And, you know, the Pac fans saw that with the CW, that cross-advertising between the ACC and the Pac as they did. That's what she's talking about, and that's big too.
Yep.
What else we got here?
And I will say I saw a lot of that on Fox and CBS with the Mountain West this year, where because I'm watching Big Ten games,
right?
I'm watching Thursday night, Friday night games, and they were promoting that cross promotion was big, and so I think they enjoy getting that from Fox and CBS. The Mountain West has the last couple of years, so again, I see why they would want to stay with them.
Yeah, they've asked about the statement that she put out. I guess 3 weeks ago now. We covered that and talked about the grant of rights and everything's going to be okay and all that kind of stuff. They asked, why did you feel the need to do that or something along those lines? And her response was, we felt we needed to do it for our current members, for our incoming members, and for the media. And I'm gonna keep it real here, Steve. I'm gonna keep it real. I wasn't overly reassured by the way she answered this question. I would have rather heard. So for those that think I only say good things about the Mountain West, listen up. I would have rather her be like the confidence of where we are with the grant of rights. They're locked down, and maybe she can't say those things. I felt that answer could have been more forceful in terms of, we're good to go. And when it started off was like, it was for our current members. I'm like, what do you mean it was for your current members? They know they signed a grant of rights. Like, that gave me a little bit of unease that she would kind of make them even be, I mean, not only that they're on the list, but they were the first on the list. Like, that concerned me a little bit.
Here's the deal, JY.
Okay, what's the deal?
The thing is, in college football in 2024, nobody is good to go unless you're the Big Ten or the SEC.
Okay,
that's just the thing. That's the deal of how things are right now. So that, and really, they're not good to go. Like, we talked about this, UNLV could leave at any point if they got a better deal. So I think it was a smart move by her just to put out, hey, this is our conference. This is how it's constructed. We've made this commitment to each other. Kind of put the elbows out there, like, hey, back off. This is us. This is who we have.
That wasn't really how she said it.
Well, I get
That's
it.
not how I took it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I would have liked it to be more like that. It was more like, we're reassuring them publicly. I don't know. I guess maybe it was just the way it was answered. It made me queasy.
I know around that time, leading up to that, there was a lot of rumbling when people were asking, who has signed the grant of rights? Is it just an MOU? There was talk about UNLV, leaving and all that stuff. So, yeah, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, nobody can have full confidence because it's fair. Just no one is good to go.
That's a fair comment.
Tomorrow, if the Big 12 called UNLV and said, we want you, the UNLV would be suing, doing whatever they had to do to get out of that grant of rights. Well, they wouldn't have to do that because that's how it's structured.
Yeah.
They would be gone tomorrow.
But to your point,
so nobody is good to go.
No, okay. Fair enough. I just still was a little queasy.
Yeah.
And she also mentioned the grant of rights, and I think you had texted me this, is really the same base or structure as the Big 12 and the ACC was. We all see how well that's holding up for the ACC right now. That's what I'll say to that.
Yeah.
They did talk about the PAC lawsuits, and this was not something I was going to bring up with her at all, and we're not going to bring up with her the lawsuits. But, of course, Monty did. I will say it turned me off a little bit. He interrupted her like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, dude, she's the freaking Mountain West commissioner. Let her talk. Yeah. But that's who he is. So, anyway, I'm not, again, I don't really watch him very much, so maybe that's just how he rolls. So he talked about both a settlement and a merger. And I did appreciate these questions. Again, not something we were going to broach with her. But talked about settlement, and her answers were the same kind of for both. Her answer regarding settlement, members are open to all solutions. I know, again, she said, and this is something we say probably not enough, this isn't, in her words, this isn't my decision. I work for the board. I work for the members. And I think it's really important. We all need to remember that that's the case. Like, she has to do the will of the majority of the members, whether she thinks it's the right decision or not. Now, is she the leader? Is she giving her comments and her thoughts, and can she be really strong about something? Absolutely, she can, but she doesn't have a vote. The members have a vote. So again, members are open to all solutions.
And here's the thing: is we're talking about large sums of money, those exit fees and all those things,
Right.
the poaching penalties. Those monies are not going. It's in Gloria Nevarez's pockets.
Right.
They're going to these schools to basically keep their athletic departments funded and all of those things. So it makes sense. She's doing this to serve a whole group of schools that want to be competitive going forward in a time where in NIL, the house settlement, all of that stuff. So it makes sense what she said.
And again, according to her, in terms of the merger, again, she says, we are open to everything. And again, that's the business strategy that's used. You have to be open to everything. We talk about this, I think, with everybody at this point. We talked about this with A.D. Frazier. They're continually doing their due diligence in all of this, right? Like, just because you're having a conversation doesn't mean you really have much of any interest in what the other person's telling you, but you're going to listen, right? Like, and you talked about that with Memphis and some of the people. You'll listen. Just because you're listening doesn't mean you have even 1%, 1 ounce of interest in what they're saying. But again, they're still going to listen, and that's what she said. Our business strategy is that you got to listen.
Right.
You may hate everything that's being said, but you're at least going to come to the table. So I think that's where we're at in the environment. We said that with A.D. Frazier. At this point, all ADs, presidents, commissioners, if you're not listening, you're going to be in deep trouble, because the whole college football environment is going to pass you by, and you're not going to have a conference. So that was my takeaways with Nevarez. Anything else there, Steve?
Again, when we talk to her, there's some different things that we want to talk to her about. It was a cool interview. Interesting to see what she had to say, but I'm really excited to have her on our show and really talk about the Mountain West and where they're going moving forward. It's an exciting time for the Mountain West. I still think getting Northern Illinois was massive. I mean, one of the biggest additions to a G level conference in a long time, in my opinion. Huge from getting that Chicagoland market, into the Mountain West. I'd still love to see them get into the state of Texas, and maybe we'll ask her about that.
No, we will ask her about that.
But again, that move to get Northern, it's an exciting time in the Mountain West. Yes, does it suck that they broke up and some are going to the Pac and all that? Yeah, but there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. So I'm really interested to talk to her.
Justin, I apologize, sir. I had my head down. I'm reading my notes, and Justin comes in with another super chat. JY and Steve, when you have your interview with In Gloria We Trust, and John reminds us it's PhD, Dr. Nevarez.
Okay.
Yes. Are you going to ask the bang the Tarleton drum question? If they are still in the conversation, go Pokes. Well, first of all, absolutely. Go Pokes.
Yeah.
Got to put that out there. Thank you, Justin. I don't know. We're going to talk Texas. I'll tell you that. Justin and Mountain West peeps. I want to talk Texas, the state of Texas. That will come up. Whether or not we get into like specifics about certain schools, I don't know. We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah, well, so Justin, you've watched a lot of our episodes. We've both been on the same page. We think both the Mountain West and the Pac need to get into the state of Texas.
Yes.
It is. And, the Mountain West added UTEP, but as people have told us, UTEP is almost in another country over there. It's basically South New Mexico. Right. So they need to get another school in Texas. I personally, and I'm not the Mountain West guy. JY is the Mountain West guy, but for me, if I was making decisions, and I don't know what's going on with the whole FCS, all that stuff, but I would invite Tarleton State tomorrow. Just like I said, the ACC should have invited USF 3 days ago. Mountain West should do the same thing with Tarleton State. I think where they are, their market, the investment that they're showing, and the commitment, I think, to doing things right, of really building and investing in their entire athletic department, And what they've done, the investments in their facilities, their football facilities, I think have been great.
Yeah.
I think it's a no-brainer. And JY, he's the Mountain West guy. He's got. I mean, maybe I'll ask a follow-up question just to throw Tarleton State's name out there.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I will say I put this out on X about a month ago, where is it a kind of following themselves? And I think it still could be the case. Some people didn't think I was making much sense, but now that the Mountain West got into the Central Time Zone, I think the Pac needs to do the same. I think they need to broaden their time zones, and they're not going to go to Hawaii, so guess where they're going to go? To the Central Time Zone. I'm big on Texas State. We both think they should be in the state of Texas. Well, if Texas State is the counter to NIU to be in the Central Time Zone, then not only are they getting in the Central Time Zone, they're also getting into the state of Texas. My opinion is the Mountain West needs to do the same, and you're going to get who's available. Well, guess who's number one available? Tarleton State, in my opinion. So I think, that NIU move first, and I'm not saying it's happening because of that move, but I absolutely think the NIU pushes the Pac into the Central, Texas pushes the Mountain West into Texas. I firmly believe that. We'll see if it comes true.
It makes a ton of sense.
So I'm going to start with just some of the questions here about the Mountain West, and then we'll get back to some of the CFP stuff.
And can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
We had Bob Thompson, the godfather or founding father of the Big Ten Network, on longtime Fox Sports executive,
right?
And honestly, to me, I think he was the first one that really introduced that concept. I wasn't thinking about that before. Of you need to be in that Central Time Zone. You need to have multiple slot windows to be appealing to a media partner. Because yes, media partners want to add late night slots, but they want some. You got to have some width to be able to fill multiple time slots. Being in a Central. Mountain West home run, Northern Illinois home run. That I don't think they could have done any better.
Yeah,
and the Pac probably needs to counter that and also be in the Central Time Zone. And if they can do it with getting into Texas at the same time, great move by them.
So we have a question about getting the Pac-12 commissioner Gould on the show. I have not reached out to the Pac-12, and I can certainly do that. I have not tried, but we can definitely give that a shot. As you know, I'm the Mountain West guy on the Big Mountain. But yeah, I would love to have Commissioner Gould on as well. So that may be after we get, hopefully, Gloria Nevarez on. We can go there next. Ryan says Gould didn't do that well in the interview. I think she did fine. I think there's only so much she can say. And I think Adam was very professional about it. He didn't push on certain things because you just can't. Well, I guess you can, but you're not going to get another interview after that. So I thought she did fine. I was it great? No. Was it didn't do well? No. I thought it was a fine interview.
So Hard Rock Trivia Show says
Yeah.
JY needs to do I don't know if it's just Mountain West Conference or Mountain West Championship pregame TV. Well, this year we did a pregame episode for the game of the year in the Mountain West, Boise and UNLV.
Yes.
That went fantastic, I thought. Did we do another? Was there another pregame or live?
We did.
show?
Well, we did one for the big for the game of the year.
Yeah,
for the G6 game of the year between UNLV and Boise.
That's what I just said.
Yeah. Well, then we did the Mountain West Championship.
Oh, then we did the Mountain West Championship.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the championship.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did both of those. It was the same two teams playing.
Yes.
Both.
Okay. That's why I was getting confused there.
Yeah, we did them both. Appreciate it, Jerry. You guys do a great job. Very positive all the time. We try to be. I wouldn't say I'm positive all the time, but I appreciate the comment.
I'm not positive when we talk about the NCAA.
Okay. Tarleton State has a nice campus, according to John. Mario's here with the Go Lobos. Jason. Yeah, so Jason's talking about Nevarez's comment. Her statements about being a consistent and reliable feeder for P4 conferences was incredible insight, and the self-understanding it takes to own that position in the college football ecosystem is inspiring. She owned it. That's who they have been. That's who they are. And not just feeder of talent, but even, pulling schools into the Power Four, right? They mentioned Utah, BYU, TCU, the schools that, Utah was an original member of the Mountain West. And, they are, there's nothing wrong with being a feeder. I mean, there's negative connotations to that, But that's what G6 is, right? That's not all that they are, but
it's part of
to ignore that in the ecosystem. And she used that word. That's a great comment, Jason. I appreciate that. It's knowing who you are and what you do well, and honestly, that's where AD Frazier's at too. I mean, that's a great comment. I wasn't something I wrote down, but that was really, really well said.
Well, we talk about, I bring up all the time how UNLV got a better deal from the Mountain West than they could going to the Pac. Part of that is the financial part of the deal, but part of it is they can go, as you've talked about many times, you've laid that out there and explained to me, they can go to, if they get a P4 invite while they're in the Mountain West, they can go there with virtually no strings attached.
Yeah.
If they go to the Pac, which unfortunately, and I love the Bees and the Cougs fan, is another G level conference. There's no guarantee whatever they go when they go there that they will also have that opportunity to go to the Big 12 or another P4 conference. So the Mountain West is positioning themselves for teams like UNLV to be the best deal there.
David Jurgensen, my humble apologies. We missed a super chat. I got so worked up on, I don't know, whatever the hell we were doing. And most of the other comments, I saw some that just said JY should be on TV. That's a horrible idea. I can't think of words. I'm not good at this. I don't know how we have a freaking channel because I'm not good with words. But anyway, back to David Jurgensen. Have heard that the G6 wants to keep conference champs get buys because they can get paid for round 1 and 2. Huh.
Well, so yes, and I saw some quotes, I think maybe from some of the G6 commissioners.
Okay.
And they're saying, they're basically saying, because they have to agree for 2025.
Yeah.
After that, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's a good point. 2025 has to have unanimous decision, which to me means, in my opinion, ain't much going to change for 2025. I mean, Gloria talked about this. She's like, why would we change something after year 1? And I'm like, I agree with you. That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. 2026, do whatever the hell you want.
And also, why would they change a scenario that's probably going to make them less money?
Yes, exactly.
Because and I think that's what they're saying when he's talking about this, about the G6. I think multiple G6 commissioners have gone on record and saying, the way it's set up now, like Boise got that extra money from getting the bye. So why would you give up something, whether it's $5 million for nothing, for no guarantee of anything? Nobody's going to do that. Again, we talk about, fiscal responsibility, fiduciary responsibilities to your university.
Yep.
We'll give you back this $5 million and get nothing in return. How does that make any sense?
I agree. I don't think any of this stuff that's being talked about coming out of any of these meetings for 25 is going to change because it's unanimous vote and it's going to hurt the G6. They're not going to vote for it. So I don't see any of it happening in 25.
Probably not. Now, I will say it is very possible that the SEC and the Big 10 are leaking some of the stuff that they want to do for 2026 when they have unilateral control.
Yeah.
And by saying like, hey, give us what we want for 2025 or we won't give you what you want for 2026. So there might be kind of a leverage play there.
That's true. All right, I am going to quickly go down our comments here, Steve. We're at the end. Make sure we didn't miss any big ones. I went back up to your. I did these two. That was Fia's comments.
Mm-hmm. We talked about love muscle.
The love muscle R. Rumbling says she's shocked that Nevarez, or he is shocked that Nevarez, humors the Monty show. Go Big Red. Nice to hear the NIU point of view. I'm telling you, he has something for everybody. Like, you don't have to be a Mountain West or NIU fan. He talks college football environment, more from G6 lens, but he's talking the ecosystem of college athletics. It's really good discussion.
Yeah, Go Big Red down there. He's talking about interview with a Memphis AD. Sounds like a guy with buckets of common sense as well. And here's the thing: those kind of mid-level program ADs, like they have to struggle. They have to do things They don't always have the biggest budgets in the world. They're not getting the $75 million a year Big Ten payouts. They got to make things work. They got to figure out travel logistics.
Yes.
How do you pay the bills and get all these teams around where they can compete? How do you stay, just financially viable? Those people, they have a lot of wisdom and experience that I think with this leadership vacuum, you need to bring those people in and make sure they have a voice.
Couple things. Shout out to Crimson Cuba. That's a D. Cuda. One Man Wolfpack. He is a constant follower on X for me.
Yeah.
And I love the name One Man Wolfpack. I think that's a shout out to one of my favoriteest movies, The Hangover.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, really good follower for me on X. Great to have you on alive. I think it's the first time I've seen you on. Hopefully they're still on. He's still on. Just saying that he appreciates the pod and everything else going on. Tanner Donovan asked, and again, I'm pretty far back up. We may have lost some of these peeps because we're getting towards an hour and a half. But asking about April for Sac State official announcement, their FBS affiliation. I'm not guaranteeing there's an affiliation. I think they're announcing that they're moving to FBS, potentially independent. Right now, I say it is independent because I do not think they have a landing spot yet for 2026, but I think they are going to put up. They're going FBS or bust. I don't know if they're necessarily going to announce an affiliation, a conference affiliation. I just think they're going to say, we're going FBS.
And honestly, I think they could very easily, and we talked about this before, I think they could very easily put together a really good competitive schedule.
Yeah.
They've already played a bunch of Mountain West teams and some Pac teams. Where they're located, they could put together a real nice schedule out there to if they're allowed to do that, to go independent for a couple years to show that they belong. And with Coach Marion, I mean, I'm highly impressed.
Yeah.
He's been successful everywhere he's gone. He's already hitting the road with his recruiting out there in Sac State. The commitments they have, I think that they're going to show their value here pretty quick when they make this move.
Love Muscle's worried about my bladder. My bladder's good. I'm good. I'm fine.
Only one time, episode did you ever
That
have
was
to
your
go?
I'm going to answer everyone's question episode.
Yes.
Overall, I think we pretty much have kept up to it. Oh, we got okay. We'll get down to the bottom here because now we're getting to the Mountain West. So let me go to the bottom. We got, I think, another super chat. Matt, what happened? Hawaii AD got let go a couple months ago. Yes. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Let's see if I can remember what I was putting on X. So, how do I say this without maybe giving too much away? The outgoing president felt like it was time in his lame duck months to terminate Craig Angelos, and he was working without a contract.
Yeah.
He was, what does he call it, at will, or I don't know, whatever you call that. And he's like, yep, you're Dunskies. So he was Dunskies. The speculation is that the president, again, speculation is that the president and what was, I think, one of the deputy or assistant ADs who wasn't given the job ahead of Angelos came in the interim, and it was looked at as a favor to this individual. And now the new president started here just a month and a half, 2 months ago. And they're now working through a search committee to fill the AD spot. So clearly there wasn't much of a plan. This happened at the end of a president's contract. Steve, you said at the time, oh, this isn't necessarily abnormal that they get rid of somebody. And while that may be true, I have been informed that there's maybe been some interesting ongoings behind the scene. I'm not going to get into too much, but I think it was really disappointing. Angelos was there for, I don't remember exactly, was it a year and a half-ish? I think it was short of 2 years. Did some amazing things. I can tell you the donors, the fans, the alumni, the student athletes, everybody loved what this guy was doing. He was pushing, and that rubbed some people the wrong way internally. He was pushing them to be better, pushing them to excel the University of Hawaii athletics. So why was he fired? Nobody's really going to know. It's speculation at this point, but he was let go. But everything that I have seen has been super positive about him. A lot of people would love him to come back. I don't think that's likely. But you never know. You never know. And donors, after he was fired, some significant donors pulled their funding because they were upset with what had occurred. So it's a little bit of a mess right now. The new president, as I said, I think they're hiring or have hired a search firm to kind of go through that process, which is only fair. She's new. From what I have been told, she knew nothing about this. She was not informed. She wasn't asked for the cupboard to be, cleaned. Yeah. So blindsided is probably the word that I was told in terms of the new president. So again, some speculation. I do have some decent sources telling me it's a little bit of a mess down there, and she wasn't ready for it. The new president wasn't ready for it. Nothing like being a new president and having an AD search and people pissed off, major donors pissed off that you let go of an AD. So that's not really fair to her. But anyway, anything you want to add?
Just to kind of clarify previous comments, it's definitely a very normal and usual thing for a new president to come in and want to either bring an AD, hire a new AD. But obviously this was handled strangely and not well by the outgoing president. And to me, it kind of looks like, and I don't have the connections with Mountain West and Hawaii that you do, but to me it looks like just kind of the good old boy, help somebody out, do something shady on your way out the door, and now you have a new president that has to come in and clean up a mess where I bet she would have preferred to come in, meet with Angelos, and see, hey, do I want to retain this guy or do I want to bring in my own person? But the outgoing president took that away from her.
Right.
Which I think is honestly pretty shitty.
Well, good. Tanner's still here. He heard some of my comments regarding Sac State. I'm glad you're still around, Tanner. Sorry it took us a little bit to get to your comments. Yes, Love Muscle, you're right. Some of the Polynesian culture is laid back, and AD probably pushed too many buttons. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Not really push buttons, just like, let's go. Stop sitting on your ass. I want to move this thing forward faster, and you're pushing buttons, whatever you want to call that. That's kind of the speculation. I think you hit the nail on the head there, and I agree. Go Big Red. It's not a good look for Hawaii. It just isn't. It's messy. It was handled poorly by the administration. And it's just creating headaches for a new president. Why would you want to do that? And that's what it seems like has happened.
Looks like we
got another one.
Zornell.
That's right.
Malone.
Could Pac-12 get North Texas and Texas State? That's a home run. In my opinion, if they want 9 football members, and with everything that I know right now, I think Texas State is very likely. I think North Texas would be a phenomenal partner to get into the state of Texas, to get into the Central Time Zone. They have a great basketball program. They're not really competing with UTSA. They have lower payouts from AAC right now. I mean, there's just so many things about North Texas that could make it work. I don't have any insiders telling me North Texas is in negotiations or anything like that. This is me speculating on North Texas. But if Texas State is as close as I believe they truly are and being told that they truly are, the only other school in that area that I think makes the most sense and is gettable for the Pac-12 is North Texas. And again, could we be seeing what was learned? And I'm not just blaming the Pac on this. This is not a knock on Gould or those two schools, but what was done with the AAC was messy. It was messy on all sides. The Memphis AD told you it was messy. Gould can only say so much. I would think they would probably say, yeah, everybody could have handled it a little better, and you learn. You live and learn. And, a lot of people now, a lot of Pac fans say they're keeping everything close to the vest. And yes, I agree that they are for the most part. Some of that is because maybe they don't have a lot of options. That's what I have been saying a lot of. But it could also be partly because, man, they really learned their lesson, and I don't say that, I'm not trying to be rude, but learned their lesson in what happened with the AAC schools. So, but yes, I agree. North Texas, Texas State, for Pac fans, I'd be all in. Make them my 8 and 9 full member, and let's move on.
There's almost no benefit to letting details of a potential deal out until the deal is done.
Yeah.
Till the ink is dry, money is starting to change hands, until the baby's been put to bed.
That's right. You've said that before.
Yeah.
You also said, don't tell me about the labor pains.
Show me the baby.
Show me the baby.
Yeah.
I really like that quote. So, hey, guys, we are done skis. It's about 10 o'clock. That is our pumpkin hour here on the Big Mountain on the East Coast. Awesome chats yet again. Almost up to 150, I think, at one point. Love you guys in the chat. It makes it so much fun for us. The Dweller base is growing. Thank you, guys. With that, make sure you hit the like button if you didn't on the way out. Pop, pop, pop. And I think we're good.
All right.
You good?
I'm good.
All right. Hey, guys. We'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.